real quick, okay, I have to slip in some political stuff. I was going to make a political video on its own, but I lost all the motivation. I was ready to do it. And should I say, there's a little back and forth between Azriel's judgment and myself. And Azriel's judgment, I so respect you, man. You know, you're very sharp, you're very erudite, you know, all those like big words, you know, and you impress me. But we disagree. You have a different political outlook than I do. And you think that global warming is a fallacy, and you and I got into a back and forth. So let me find this. This is a warning to people. And he took the wind out of my sails later because I was ready to deal with this. But let me say that if you get engaged in the global warming, argument, people are going to pull out stuff. Look, the consensus is, I listen to Scientific American podcasts, okay? And every time a story comes up about climate change, it's nothing about like, oh, we were all wrong. It's completely natural. There's nothing we can do about it. Might as well continue burning oil as much as we please. Oh, the carbon tax. Oh, you know what? The carbon tax is going to hurt us so bad, so let's just do nothing. But see, they're scientists. They look at the big picture. They don't look just as much as it's going to hurt our pocketbook. What good does money do you when everybody's dying? Okay, now I'm being extreme. But really, it's going to hurt the poorest of the countries, the people less able to do it. And then you're worried about like you can't run your frigging SUV, your friggin' Hummer. I saw somebody, every time I see somebody driving a Hummer, I just try to give them a dirty look, but they're damn tinted windows with that limo tint. It seems futile. I'm just staring into this like fucking black void. I don't know if they even see me. That limo tint was, no offense to you people that like it, but I friggin' hate it. We have to be able to see each other when we drive. We're closed enough off in our little worlds enough as it is, without that damn limo tint in your big giant gas guzzler. The carbon tax, you know, there's all these scare stories. Oh, the carbon tax is going to kill you. And then, but what's the alternative? I mean, other parts of the world are all fucked up. All the animals are dying. You know, the really bad shit's going down. I listen to the BBC podcast. I listen to The Guardian. The Guardian's my favorite because they're liberal. But the BBC is a little more balanced. And there is no talk about there being any question. It's pretty much like, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? There's always stories about carbon footprint. You know, expanding, what are we going to do about Heathrow? Some obscure airport that's going to be, well, obscure to Americans, some airport in England that needs to be expanded. All these different things that come into play. New sources of energy, like putting like machines that collect energy from tidal movements. I could go on and on. But you don't hear anybody saying, oh, yeah, it's no problem. You know, it's just something cooked up. It's a conspiracy by somebody trying to make money. What, these little startup companies that are trying to make money off of green energy? You know, like they're like more powerful and they can pull strings more than big oil can? Let me get to my point here real quick here, okay? I'm going to say that there are these quacks out there. And Azriel pointed me to this one, and it was pretty friggin' obvious. Well, it wasn't obvious, but it's once you look into the background, you find that this gentleman, and I had it up here earlier, sorry that I'm looking for it, here we go. He sent me a link to a petition online, and there is a quote-unquote, notice I didn't do the air quotes this time, quote-unquote scientist that claims that Frederick Seitz put out a petition for scientists that do not believe in global warming or climate change, that claim that mankind has nothing or little to do with it. and that the idea of carbon tax and all that isn't going to do anything. Another thing is that Al Gore. Oh, Al Gore. You know, look, he got a standing ovation at the Stockholm the Nobel Prize thing. Doesn't happen too often. He's not the scientist, but the scientists use him as sort of a poster boy. He really helped promote the idea, and they're grateful for it. And people say, oh, Al Gore, you know, his mansion uses, you know, more energy than anybody else. Well, stop and think about it. Does that really make the fact that climate change is not real because of that? Because of that human frailty? The fact that he's a fat cat, that he's some rich guy? Okay, I love Al Gore, but you know, the guy's rich. I wouldn't be able to hang out with him and go to the country club, you know. I know that, but I don't care that he has the phoniness that Bush thought, oh, Bush, he's like a man we can have a beer with. The man doesn't even drink. He can't handle his alcohol. He's not somebody you can hang out with. He's not. He's a phony. Al Gore, at least we know a little bit more about what he's about. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But as far as scientific fact, is the fact that his mansion uses more energy than you and I take away from the fact that the science is not sound. All right? So, this petition, okay? This man, Frederick Seitz, was a shill. A man that worked for the tobacco companies that was a scientist that said, no, there's no link between smoking and cancer. I myself am a smoker, but I'm not going to fool myself and go, oh yeah, it's a conspiracy. I'm going to smoke all I want. No, if the scientists say it can cause cancer, I'll just be self-deluded. Oh, I did the air quotes. I'll be just self-deluded and say, well, you know what? I've got good genes and I'll survive it. My grandfather was a smoker his whole life, lived till 97. He was a pipe smoker, though. That's different. And then now his science, his so-called science, his research is funded by ExxonMobil. I did a random search on these so-called scientists that signed this petition. Over 1,900 scientists signed this. Random. I picked 3 at random. One man was a court expert for injury lawsuits, not a climatologist. The other man was a biologist, not a climatologist, not somebody that studies ice cores or think more on the ice cores later, and a biologist. Okay, he's not going to know anything about overall sun temperatures. He's not going to know about how much carbon in the atmosphere affects anything. Yet he considers himself an expert, and he's signing this petition. Then the third one that I happen to find, was a climatologist. But guess who he works for? He works for the Creationist Foundation. The same people that think that Darwin was all wrong. That's what we have here. Okay? Watch out for these people. Asriel sent me this is what took the wind out of my sails. He sent me a new list of scientists. This time, so-called real scientists. And I haven't had time to look into it. And the problem with this sort of thing is that it puts the burden of proof on me. It says, oh no, okay, here's the next group. These guys are for real. Look, bottom line, the consensus. There's always going to be some disagreement. Scientists are human beings. They all have an agenda. You have to look at the big picture. At some point, if science proves otherwise, we move on. Doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater. Then he says, no offense, Asriel, but you said part of it's what is based is my common sense. What's common sense? You look at the ocean, you say, oh yeah, it's limitless. How is little old me going to affect the ocean? But it is affected. Oh, the atmosphere, it's limitless. How is my common sense says, I can dump all I want into the air. It's not going to affect me. Common sense would look, the earth is flat. If I sail out on the ocean far enough, I'm going to fall over the edge. That was common sense for centuries. Look, common sense really doesn't fall in the priorities of science. Okay? It doesn't. No offense. All right. That was my political rant. For those of you who feel I've been slacking on my politics and not being real and not talking about stuff that's important enough, that was it.